Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United debate, news and chat as we talk about what's next for Manchester United and it's time to deliver. We've also got big news coming in about Lisandro Martinez. He is heading off on international duty. Is that good or bad? Is it hypocritical when we listen to what Ruben Amorim says he wants to do on the international break? He says he's disappointed, but he's got plans for those who aren't on international duty to get working as they look to alleviate and eliminate these mistakes that are costing us points. That's what the league table looks like at the moment. We've actually moved down to 8th, back to 7th because Liverpool lost and they lost badly on goal difference. In one way, we are 2 points off 3rd. In another way, we are dropping points and need to do better. But look, I think we can all agree that we've got to step it up. We've got to step it up. We've got a massive opportunity in front of us and we're going to lose that opportunity if we don't eradicate the mistakes. It's your show tonight. Get into it as always. Sunday night show, the flagship show of the United Stand. Lots to talk about. Brilliant comment from the watch along in the Man City Liverpool game from M. Parker actually about progress, which we can talk about as well. But look, we've got a really good run of games coming up. We need to do better. Before we get into all of that, though, our sponsor tonight is Boohooman. So we've got a little bit of trivia coming up your way as well. But don't forget, boohooman.com. You can get all your clothing needs this autumn / winter / Christmas presents. Jumpers, underwear, Netflix and chillwear, five-a-side wear, coats, the lot. It's all there on boohooman.com. And you can use the code Goldbridge to get an extra 10% off their purchases by combining that with any other discounts they have on the page as well. Currently site-wide discounts on that website. So check that out. Use the code Goldbridge to get 10% off. Get it delivered to your door. You can get a load of stuff, kitting yourself out for the autumnal season and beyond. And also, because it's Boohooman, can you guess this player? I was born on the 26th of November 1990 in Manchester and came through the academy, scoring on my senior debut in 2008. I won the League Cup and the FA Cup were with United in 2008-09. I went out on loan to Preston and Sunderland before becoming a United first team regular in 2011-12. In total, I made 142 appearances for United, scoring 29 goals. On deadline day in September 2014, I left Old Trafford for Arsenal for 16 million. After Louis van Gaal bought in Radamel Falcao, I know who it is. I later moved to Watford, then joined Brighton, where I still play today. Of course, it's Danny Welbeck, who actually would be quite useful at United right now, I think. A player like Danny Welbeck would be very useful for us. Experienced, Premier League proven. Big thank you to Boohooman and everyone who got that one. And don't forget, use the code, links in the description, or scan the QR code. The code is Goldbridge. Get yourself 10% off. Thank you very much for that. Okay. It's an 8 o'clock show. You can drive the show, get your questions in. Doesn't matter what it's all about. Ask us anything. Get anything off your chest. How are you feeling? And all that jazz. Seth Walters has gifted us 5 memberships as well. You're an absolute legend, Seth, if you got one of those. Keel says, I've just watched Garnacho cross 3 times, leading to 3 goals. Why does Amorim and Erik ten Hag hate crossing? You know what? I want to come back to that. I think that is a great comment from Keel, and I do want to talk about it. I think we are anti-crossing at Manchester United. I don't think it's by accident. Played worse this season, Bruno Dillo. Who's played worse this season, Bruno Dillo or Agate? Anton, I don't think it really matters. I don't think any of them are actually good enough for where they're playing in the team at the moment. Bruno needs to play as 10. Agate needs to step it up, and Dillo needs to be sold or benched permanently, as far as I'm concerned. But what I do want to talk about is this league table. Look at it. Just look at it. I think Arsenal and Man City are going to move away. Absolutely. I'd like to mix it up with Chelsea, Sunderland, and Man United, and Liverpool, etc. Aston Villa are doing well again now. But look, we have such a great opportunity here. How do we, the positive people who think that yesterday's result was a good performance, how do we get into the top 4? How do we get into the top 5? Tell us how we're going to do it. Because if we're going to keep giving up goals and leads, we're not going to do it. So what have we got to do over the international break and beyond? Because it's time to deliver now. We can't keep messing up. 2 weeks in a row, we could have been comfortably where Chelsea is and beyond. How do we do it? We've got to talk about that tonight. Of course, Ruben Amorim's got a plan, and I'll tell you what that is in a moment. In fact, I might do it now because this is what Ruben Amorim had to say, and it sort of fits in with something I want to talk about first, which is breaking news around Lisandro Martinez. So Ruben Amorim has said this, his plans for the international break. It's a little bit of frustration, but also a little bit of pride of the response of the players getting the goal against Tottenham. Then I look at the team. I understand that this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we're just in the beginning of becoming a stronger team. We have a lot to do, and we're going to work with the guys that are not going to the national team, and we're going to evaluate everything, trying to see also games for the kids. So I've got to try and use this space on evolution of our club, not just the first team. So Amorim basically saying, look, there is obviously not losing is a positive, and finding a way with 10 men to get an equaliser was good. But there is a lot of problems, as he said, and he wants to use the international break with the players that he's got to work on things. There are players like Harry Maguire, Mason Mount. There'll be others as well that are potentially first-team players that are not going on international duty. So he wants to use this as a chance to look at younger players and to work with the players that are not going on international duty. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of analytical stuff as well, looking at the last 4 weeks before, these last 4 games, what's been good, what's been bad. And I'm sure he'll be looking at a lot at why in the second half we've not been very good. So it's interesting that Amorim's basically saying that the players that aren't going on international duty, Mainu, of course, will be one of those as well. He wants to work with them. So it's very surprising to see tonight that Lisandro Martinez has joined up with the Argentine national team, and he has travelled to train with the Argentine national team. I'm sort of like, I'm conflicted on this as to whether it's that deep or are we being a bit hypocritical here? Because if Amorim has first-team players like Luke Shaw and Mason Mount and Mainu and Harry Maguire and a few others to work with over the international break, and Martinez hasn't really worked with Amorim because he's been injured for most of the time that Amorim's been here, and he's gone off to train with Argentina, I'm sort of a little bit confused by this. And I'm hoping that we get an explanation from Ruben Amorim or Manchester United Football Club. Because if Ruben Amorim is saying over the international break it's a great opportunity to work with the players that aren't on international duty for the next few weeks, and Martinez hasn't played for us this season or most of last season, I genuinely would have thought, being at Carrington, working with players like Maguire, Luke Shaw, Mainu and Amorim, is going to be far better for you than going off to train with Argentina. And I'm just worried that what if he goes and I don't know whether this is contractual, whether United have backed down, whether United have told him to do it. But all I'll say again is, and then I'll let you have your say, if this was Luke Shaw, there would be absolute outrage. And I just think, does the risk outweigh the reward? Would I rather have Lisandro working towards match fitness with Manchester United, with Amorim, Luke Shaw and people like that? Or would I rather have him in Spain with the Argentinian team, training with them, where we've got no control over what that is? We've got no one. I think what people don't realise about rehabilitation and getting close to the first team is that you're under the control of Man United's fitness department. When you go with your international team, you have no control. So I find that a little bit strange. And I'm a massive fan of Martinez, and I want him in the team, but I do look at it a little bit and go, I'd be a massive hypocrite if I went, oh, it's fine, it's absolutely fine. Because I know for a fact if Luke Shaw went and did this and he'd been injured for 7 months, I'd be going, this is a bloody joke, what's going on? So look, Jamie says, I don't think it's a major issue. He's been training for 2 weeks. I hope it isn't a major issue, mate. I hope he doesn't come back from international duty with an injury, because then it becomes an issue. But I personally think we should be putting Man United ahead of this. But, you know, it is what it is. And that's a bit of breaking news I just wanted to bring in. Nikki says, if Bruno leaves at the season's end, who would you name as next captain? De Ligt. Definitely De Ligt. And Emily Derry says, all right, working with those not going on international duty to eradicate mistakes, but many of those making the mistakes are away on international duty, like Casemiro, Bruno and Dalot. Thank you very much for that, Emily, of course. Look, let's talk. Right. I look at that league table and we are, 11 games in to the season? What have we learnt? I think that a lot of these shows we're going to do over the next 2 weeks are going to be transfer-led. You know, it's November. We're about 6 weeks out, 7 weeks out from the transfer window opening. We've got gaping holes in our midfield. I expect to see a lot of news around transfers over the next 2 weeks, and I think we will be talking about that a lot. There might be opportunity to analyse other stuff, and we've certainly got a big list of that, so make sure you're getting involved. But I think tonight is a good chance to look at that league table, look at the last 11 games, and say, where are we at? I'm certainly not going to sit here and keep talking about progress and being disappointed. I mean, look, the further you move away from something, the better you start to feel. It's gone. Yesterday's gone. We drew against Spurs. I mean, look, if you want something a little bit light-hearted, at least we don't have one of our best players injured, sat in the stadium with an influencer from the other team doing bloody TikTok clips. I mean, Maddison sat with Angry Ginge doing that. I mean, bloody hell. I think this fan base would lose its shit. Can you imagine if somebody like Mason Mount was injured, watching Man United play, let's say, Arsenal, doing little clippy videos with chunks? You'd be fucking gone. You'd be out, mate. Whether it's the new world or not, you'd be gone. Finished. Finito. So at least we didn't have that. And I thought it was quite funny that we got the late equaliser and Ginge could go, fuck you. I don't think he did say that, but whatever. Reality is, it happened yesterday. It's gone. Obviously, I've been very frustrated, but at some point, you've got to move forward. At some point you've got to move forward. When my dog got put down, a couple of months ago, for the first few days, I felt absolutely devastated. I was like, this is horrible. And then the next week, you still feel sad. And then it's not that you get better. You just get used to it and you carry on. And that's the way the human body works. So I don't feel as frustrated or angry as I did yesterday or even this morning now. Look at the league table. It's still an opportunity. I think it's a missed opportunity yesterday, and I think it was a missed opportunity against Forest. But what we've got to do is make sure that we stop doing this, because there comes a time when you go, what are we capable of? What are we capable of? And there was a great comment on the watch-along for the Man City game today from M. Parker, who said, people talk about progress when actually, it's almost futile. Like, one man's progress is another woman's not progress, and vice versa. Because if you look at Le Mans yesterday, if we'd had an Onana in goal, we'd have lost. But with Le Mans in goal, he makes 2 saves and we draw. If we'd have had Le Mans in goal last season, I don't think we'd have finished 15th. And if we had an Onana in the goal this season, I think we would be 15th. So it's sort of like, is the goalkeeper the progress? Is that really progress? So I think, the progress conversation is almost needs to be parked. The reality is that league table, and it's about what we do from this point. Because if we come back from the international break and we beat Everton, but then we go to Palace and we're 1-0 up at half-time and we lose, it's not progress, is it? Because 4 points from 6 is not going to put us in the top 4. There's too many teams around us at the moment. We need to start going on a consistent run of winning. And people will look at the fixtures and they'll go, oh, that's going to happen, that's going to happen. But I don't think it necessarily is. I think my honest answer is, what do I think is going to happen? I think it's foolish to say that we're going to finish in the top 4, because I think that league table tells you that's totally and utterly unpredictable, because it's an unpredictable league. I've never seen a league table like it. And let's not forget, it's not just Crystal Palace in 10th. There's Brighton in 11th. I think they've got 16. I think Everton have got 15 and Brentford have got 15. So all the way down to like 13th place, they're only 5 points off 3rd. So one loss, one draw, boom, you drop. One win, you're up. But consistency is what we need to find, and we've always been allergic to that. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, forget everybody else. How do we capitalise on that position? Because positive people go, we're only 2 points. We're only 2 points off 3rd. Negative people go, we're a couple of bad results and we're down into the bottom half of the table. Both things are right, and it's about how you want to look at it. What I can't give you at the moment, and I'd love some of you to give me, is where we're going and what we are and what we're doing. Because I don't know. I look at Brighton, I look at Anfield, and I go, they're the sort of results that you need to kick on and continue. And then I look at Forest and Spurs, who I don't think are very good teams, especially at home, and I go, we can't kick on. We're still this inconsistent side. We've got to find that consistency, but not necessarily to the level we think. I don't mind if we win 3, lose 1, win 3, lose 1. But what we can't do is start fucking drawing. Drawing will kill us. We've got to start I would rather we'd won yesterday and lost to Forest because we'd have more points. And that's what it is. We need to get more points on the board. And to do that, somehow Amorim has got to do what sometimes feels impossible. Try and change the mentality of these players. That after Brighton and Anfield, we're back. We've changed it. And then after Forest and Spurs, we're like, we're not. We still just do inexplicable things. And that's what he's got to try and change. That's for Amorim to do. I can't sit here and say what's going to happen. I think we're more than capable of coming back from the international break and winning a few games on the way to Christmas. And I think that's probably the way I look at it. I think that we've got to get to that transfer window, utilise that transfer window and keep ourselves in that. Look, if somebody said to me on January the 1st, the table won't look like that. But if in January the 1st, we're 7th place, but we're 2 points off 3rd, give it me now. Literally, give that to me now. I said that after 10 games. I'll say it again. I think the big thing for us is to stay in contact until January and then basically wait and see what the club do. Because as I said this morning, and I would urge everybody to try and take a look at this if you get time, or wait till after the international break and watch us do it against Everton and Palace. What we're doing is what Solskjaer did. And nobody can convince me that we're not. What we're doing is what Solskjaer did. You have a goalkeeper that's competent in goal, David De Gea, Lemens. And then you have a defence that's very good at defending deep. And then you have attackers that can get you clinical moment goals. And that's basically what we did yesterday. 2 shots on goal, 2 goals. And when we haven't got the ball, all you can see is red shirts. It's a back 5. It's four players in front of the back 5. So he's trying to not concede goals and then get goals. The style of play really isn't there. It's counter-attacking, it's low possession, it's direct. And I don't know whether that's going to evolve. I hope it is going to evolve. But if we're going to do that, you've got to win. You've got to win because the big problem is if you don't win and you're not really easy on the eye, it becomes problematic. And I think Keel makes a great point as well. I haven't watched the Chelsea goals because I don't like Garnacho, but I know he got 2 assists and apparently there were crosses. I look at the Man City goal, the first goal today. Right back, Núñez crosses it, Haaland, brilliant header. And I think, you know what? Why are we so allergic to putting crosses into the box? Why don't we want to put crosses into the box? I know Sesko might be injured, he might not be injured, but why don't we put crosses into the box? I think this is a massive part of what Man United's all about, and I'd like to see more of that. But I don't know why we don't do it. I don't know. Hi, I find the Sesko criticism a bit simplistic, says Marlow FC. Haaland scores the most, but he also misses most chances in the Premier League. Let's judge Sesko when he gets loads of chances. I hope that people are going to be protective of Sesko. I hope that this doesn't turn into what we've seen before with other players. I think a witch hunt can start very, very quickly. And as I said this morning, this whole ridiculous thing that he should have stayed on the pitch and, he might have, been faking injury to get himself off the pitch is incredible to me. And we've got to be careful about that because ultimately we're not a very wealthy football club. We've spent a lot of money on Sesko, a lot of money. There won't be another 60, 70 million to replace him. And he has to work. It has to work. Amorim himself has said, look, in the future, he's going to be a big striker for us. So there is literally no point as a United fan, even if you're starting to feel it, there's no point in calling it a mistake or a flop or turning on him. We need to support him. And obviously a lot of that comes down to him. He's got to realise that you play for Manchester United and you're going to get spoken about and you can't control that. And that's something he's got to work on. But we've got to work on it as well. We've got to support him. And supporting him isn't just the fans sticking by him. It goes back to what Keel said. Like, he is big. Put crosses into the box. Like, adjust the way you're playing. There ain't no way that I think Amorim wants to come to Man United and park the bus and counter-attack. But he's doing it. He's doing it to get results. And it's worked. People forget the first 15 minutes against Brighton at Old Trafford. They were taking us apart, passing it all the way through us. And then we got a goal, we got our confidence up, and we were fine. And I just think we've spent a lot of money on Sesko. And Marlowe is absolutely correct. And it's the same problem we had with Rasmus. We had it with Martial, Rashford up front, Cavani, Ronaldo. We're very, very bad at servicing the number one most important player on a football pitch. Your goalkeeper is there to save goals. Your defence is there to protect your goalkeeper. Your midfield there is there to help the defence, help the attack. And your attack is there to score goals. And your striker is the guy that's meant to score the most goals. Football's very, very simple. We need to service our striker. And we need to learn to service our striker. And only then can we really start to say whether Sesko is any good or not. Because if Sesko had been playing up front for Man City today, he'd have had a very, very different game to what he had with Man United. Hi, Mark. Was at the Grand Slam of Darts at Wolverhampton today with friends. Just love visiting England. I hope you enjoyed it, Mojo. The darts is good. Keal Robinson's back again. He says, I'll say it again. If we get 2 centre midfielders in January and start crossing, we get top 4. Fluky, yes, but we get it. Clip it. But that's why I want to keep the league table up for a moment, because this is what I really wanted to say. And I sort of started it off. I've always said I'll pitch Man United somewhere between 5th and 10th this season. And I did say after 10 games, as long as we're in touching distance, that's fine. And you'll get people in the comments who will quote that and go, you're a hypocrite, Mark. You're a hypocrite. You said at the start of the season, as long as we're in touch after 10 games, everything's fine. It's going to be a roller coaster and we've got to be patient. And I go, where's the hypocrisy in that? At what point have I said sack the manager? I haven't. What I've said is, it's going to be a roller coaster. I'm on the roller coaster as well. I'm allowed to be frustrated, angry, and I'm allowed to be positive and excited. So where's the lie? Like, I am not hammering out. I don't think anybody really is. I'm massively frustrated in the last 2 games. We are in touching distance with top 4, and it's going to be a roller coaster. And the whole point of the roller coaster is we're on the roller coaster. We're not observing it. We're actually bloody front row seats. And yesterday, I just felt in a low point, frustrated and angry and disappointed. Tonight, I'm looking at the league table and I'm about to say this, and I'm sort of like, we can still climb. We can still climb. And, you know, maybe we can fall again. And I'm sure Amorim would say that. But when I look at that league table, and it's very difficult to predict at the moment, but I have got the fixtures. Arsenal are going to finish above us. They're probably going to win the league. Man City are going to finish above us. They could win the league. Chelsea, I don't know. I still don't know about Chelsea. I think they are a funny team. Sunderland are going to drop. They are. They're having Sunderland's mission to stay up. Sunderland are going to drop. In my opinion, they're going to drop. Not far, but they're not going to get top 5. Spurs, I do not rate Spurs. I'm sorry, I do not rate Spurs. So they're gone. Villa, absolutely put some respect on their name. 5 wins in the last 6. Probably the most informed team in the Premier League with Man City, Arsenal and us at the moment. So Villa, I will give respect. But the thing about Villa that discards them is we've seen it. Next March, he will probably win the Europa League, which will get them in the Champions League. So if Aston Villa are fighting us for 5th, Emery will go for the Europa League. And they will not be able to sustain Thursday, Sunday like we couldn't last year when you're doing Lyon and all that lot. So Villa are good, but they won't do it because of the Europa League. So that's Villa, Sunderland, Spurs. I don't think so. And this is just a prediction. Then you've got us, which we know about. Liverpool, I think, will get top 4. So let's put them in the top 4. Bournemouth, no. Crystal Palace, no. Newcastle are gone. They're gone. So I sort of look at it and I go, okay, Arsenal, Man City, I think Liverpool will get back into the top 4. Chelsea, I'm not so sure about, but let's say they will get top 4. 5th place. 5th place. It's just there. Regardless of whether we were lucky against Spurs yesterday, regardless of what the fuck went wrong at Forest, I still sit there looking at the league table and I go, I'm climbing the roller coaster again. And I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm not guaranteeing it. And I'm still bloody frustrated because I think this could be easier than we're making it. That's my point. Like, I'm saying we can get 5th based on what I've just said there. And some of you might think something differently. But we can't keep missing the opportunities. Imagine if we had beat Spurs and drawn with Forest. Another 2 points and we are basically in the top 4. So we're still in it. despite some of the silly results we've had in the last couple of weeks. But imagine if we did just do what we should do. Like, we should have won yesterday. We should have done it. But I still look at it and I go, Newcastle being shit is great for us because they were a club I thought might go for 5th. Villa, as I said, they're very good, but I think the Europa League's going to hurt them. Spurs, I just do not see it. And then you're talking about Bournemouths and Crystal Palace and Sunderland. So I think we've just got a great opportunity. And like Keel says, we're so shit in the midfield. Call it for what it is. We are shit in the midfield. If we can get to January and be in the position like that and get a midfielder in, we're still playing one game a week. So, look, I think it's important to remember that we dream the same dream. We want the same thing. I want Man United to get into Europe in the Champions League, and so do you. If you're frustrated and disappointed with yesterday, join the club. If you're happy and over the moon with yesterday, join the club. That club is, we need to get Champions League football. Some of us are going, why are we fucking it up ourselves? Some of you are going, I think we'll be okay anyway. And that is a fair point. We might be okay anyway because we've still got one game a week. We've still got the capability of picking up results. And I think that's what we've got to do until January. But I think a lot of it will come down to what Ineos and the Glazers decide to do in January. I really do, because if we get to January and we don't strengthen and they go, I think we'll be okay. Imagine that's the league table in mid-January and they go, I think we might do it. That's when I get scared. That's when I get scared. Because I'm not sat here saying we've dropped points to Spurs and Forest, we're not going to get top 5. At no point have I said that, and I've not seen anybody say that. All I'm saying is that we can't keep missing these opportunities. We've got to start delivering. We've got to take the chance. But if we hit January and we don't do anything, that's when I would start to get scared and say we're playing with fire a little bit here. We're playing with fire. Because I don't actually think we're going to see... I don't think this is going to change massively. I don't think it's going to be as compacted. It's constipated, isn't it? I mean, bloody hell, look at how many points everybody's got. Everybody's playing everybody. And of course, we've got to be very careful because well, I'll mention that in a minute. But my point is, I think the way the league is going, I don't really think we're going to run away with 5th place. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to see more and more inconsistency from everybody. But the financial reward and the status reward and the confidence of getting top 5 for United is so important. It will come down to what we do in the January transfer window. Now, if you're not aware of our next few games, just to give you a little bit of a back picture this. Everton at home, Crystal Palace away. West Ham at home, Wolves away. With all due respect, that's something that puts a smile on my face. Because Everton at home, we win because we're good at home. Palace away, they're a good team, but I don't necessarily think I'd go, we're going to lose. West Ham at home is like Everton at home. I'd say we win. And Wolves have got 2 points. So I'd say, again, we win. If we can win 3, if we can take 10 points from our next 4 games, there's a lot of teams that aren't going to do that in and around us. So that's the opportunity in front of us. That is the opportunity in front of us. We've got another opportunity now. After that, you then got Bournemouth at home, who've suddenly gone a bit shit. Villa away will be difficult. Newcastle at home, they're shit at the moment. And then Wolves at home. So this is the run of games to January. Now, there's a flip side to that coin. If we win a lot of those games, we might be comfortably in the top 4, and Sir Jim Radcliffe locks his checkbook away and goes, you're okay. That could be the other side of the coin. They might not want to do anything anyway when we need it, and they might go, we're not doing anything because you don't need it. So we might win enough games between now and January the 1st that they go, we're putting it away. I hope they don't do that. I hope they don't do that. I think they have a responsibility. They really, really do. And I think there's such a great opportunity for Manchester United if we do bring a midfielder in. But it's definitely there. It's definitely there, isn't it? You know, when you look at that league table, it's definitely there. One thing I was going to say, just before I go back to some of your comments, is that, remember, our Everton game is Monday Night Football. We've got a few Monday night football games coming up. So the important thing is, over that first weekend back after the international break, it's really important that we don't panic too much, because there's a lot of people like Brighton, Bournemouth, who, if they win, they'll be above us. Crystal Palace play Wolves. They could go above us. So we could be bottom half by the time we're playing Everton on the Monday night. That's what I'm trying to say. But you know, so that's just the way. You know, until you've played Everton on a Monday night, the game week isn't over anyway. So psychologically, we might find ourselves in the bottom half of the table by the time we play Everton. But that's just the way, you know, games are going to go. I'm not anyway. I'm not worried about Brentford. I'm not worried about Crystal Palace. I'm not worried about those teams behind us, the Bournemouths. I'm not worried about those. I think we can take care of those. The big thing is we've got to take care of ourselves. We've got some great opportunity to do that, certainly. Let me have a look at some of your comments. It's sad that Van Persie was the last striker we prioritised and it worked. Prioritise the strikers and you will get the best out of them. Goals win games, says Linford. Look, I've got a few shows over the international break and I'm not too sure. It depends on what stories are going to break, because I've been told that there's quite a big story going to break in the next few days. We'll have to wait and see if it does. But I've got quite a few shows, probably for 8 o'clock shows, that I want to do like we did in the last international break. I certainly want to do a show around Amorim's first year and what he did at Sporting, etc. And your thoughts on that. We probably will do a show around certain individual players as well. I want to bring some stats into it. But I think that stylistically, the reason I said to you a few minutes ago it would be worthwhile taking a look at the way Manchester United play, whether it's Everton, Crystal Palace, or go back and watch the game yesterday, it's like a red wall. It's like very, 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 very defensive. Very, very defensive. And then we look to break. And I think out of 11 games this season, there's been at least 7 where we've had less than 50% possession. So we're playing in a certain way. What does that tell you straight away if you're a striker? I'm playing for a team that spends a lot, let's be fair, not necessarily spends a lot of time defending, but I'm playing for a team that gets everybody behind the ball. That takes us a long way from our goal. I'm also playing for a team that has less than 50% possession a lot of the time. Now, if I play for a team that spends a lot of time with the ball and a lot of time in the opponent's half, I'm going to get more chances as a striker. So if we're going to service people like Sesko, then we've got to work on how we do that. And we're not doing that if we're saying, let's get everyone behind the ball, let's not have the ball. So there are things that I think need to be considered, rather than, we know what Amorim did at Sporting. And most of last season was talking about bloody formations and systems, which thankfully have been buried like a cat shit. It's a load of rubbish. But style of play, I think, is a completely different conversation. And our style of play is certainly something that we need to scrutinise, because in doing that, I think we can solve some of the striker issues. I've got a lot of people talking about Rashford. I don't really know what that's about, so let me just have a quick look, because I don't want to be, neglecting something that is topical in the live chat. So I think Barcelona are playing tonight, aren't they? So Barcelona are 2-1 up against Celta Vigo, and he has an assist for Lewandowski. By a lovely pass by Marcus Rashford. So there we go. Look, I'm pleased. Look, I don't think, when I see Garnacho getting a couple of assists yesterday, I'm not happy, because I think he's a bit of a shithouse, to be honest. And I think he treated the club disgustingly, and I think he shat on the fans that had his back, and I was one of those fans. When I look at Marcus Rashford, I just see it as there was a few things that were frustrating and he got criticism for, but there was a hell of a lot of good. And I also think it got to a point where there needed to be a divorce. And he said it himself last Christmas, maybe I need a new challenge. So I don't see the point in... It's like being in a relationship with somebody that, you know, you really used to love, and then you get to a point where you're not compatible and you have a few arguments, and then you break up, and it's good for everybody, but then you want them to keep suffering. And I'm like, the breakup was the right thing. The worst thing we could do is get back together. We had some good times. There were some bad times. But there's no reason not to want them to do well. And we should want to do well as well. So, and also, let's not forget, there's a bit of money coming our way if he does well as well. So I don't care about Garnacho. And also, we've got the money for Garnacho. So if he flops, it's hilarious. With Rashford, we haven't got the money yet. But, you know, I see it as a good thing. I think there is a small, naive minority that see it as a way to beat Amorim and those of us that wanted Rashford to go. I don't really get that because I think that's player FC. There is no place for him in this team. And he doesn't want to play in this team. So I think that's a futile conversation. I think the correct conversation is to want him to do well. Garnacho, we've done that. Garnacho, hi Mark. In fairness, I think we will push to sign in January, but I think we won't buy someone unless they are good for his long terms as Manchester Reds. I still think someone like Conor Gallagher would be very good. Garnacho doing crosses whilst we're doing the graveyards as JB. I think Keel made a great point because I look at Man United under Ten Hag and to a certain extent under Amorim and the indiscipline to shoot all the time. And then I look at him, or I listen to what you're saying, that he's at Chelsea and in a short period of time he's passing. And I think that's got to come down to the environment. That's got to come down to coaching. If he stopped shooting and running into blind alleys and he started to pass and cross, why didn't he do that at United? What players and what coaches at Chelsea have got him to do something at United we didn't? And I talk about Ten Hag specifically. He would never fucking cross under Ten Hag. He would shoot. Anthony would shoot. Rashford would shoot. Bruno would shoot. So I think it's a stylistic thing, isn't it? Maybe that's what Ten Hag wanted them to do. And maybe Maresca wants him to pass more and cross more. So it was also, like Cameron says, against Wolves, who are shit. And we're playing them twice in December. Milan, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for getting your badge in. Really appreciate your support on the channel. Lovely to see everyone who gets their badge in. Thank you very much for that. JB was a member as well. And so is Brandon. He says, Sir Jim already thinks this is a top 4 squad. If we're in the top 4 come January, he won't spend. As I say, I think there's a great opportunity in January to be in a really good position. The fixtures for us are very, very favourable. But having said that, there is also a good point here that we must never look at this Premier League table, Premier League fixtures and go, that's a win, that's a win. Because I could say this to you as well. Okay, all right, Man United against Everton, easy home win. Everton, low block, counter. Crystal Palace, Manchester United. 5 at the back, Crystal Palace, counter. Low block. West Ham, Nuno in charge. Low block, counter. Wolves away. Don't know what they'll do. New manager, probably beat them. Bournemouth, well, hopefully Bournemouth come and play a high line and try and attack us like Brighton, so that could play into our hands. Villa at Villa Park. You never know with Emery. Newcastle, Eddie Howe could play a low block. Boxing Day. Wolves again. So it's funny really because you look at the games that you'd think are harder, like Villa and Bournemouth, but they might actually try and play out from the back, try and be expansive. We could hurt teams like that, like we did Liverpool and Brighton. The teams like West Ham and Palace and Everton, and maybe Newcastle, they could be the harder games if they play a low block. So on paper, you go, I saw somebody on X yesterday go, I'm absolutely fuming at the points we've dropped. It's such a massive missed opportunity. But I'm looking at our next 8 Premier League games and I think we'll win 7. And I think those days are gone. Those days are gone. Like, I know what they mean. I used to look at fixture lists and go, oh yeah, we'll win 5 of the next 6. But stylistically, our system doesn't scuttle 7 out of 8 games, does it? It doesn't. I mean, the kid gets a haircut based on the next 7 games, really. We should win 5 of them, and hopefully in a row. But you also have to look at what we're playing against. And until we can deal with a low block, and also the AFCON's going to be in there as well. So it ain't as simple as that, is it? It really isn't. I had heard something about the Villa game and trying to get Mbeumo to play the Villa game. I mean, these... So the first games of the AFCON start on the 21st of December. But I think they want them, quite rightly, like we do in the Euros and the World Cup, they want them to be training with their teams before that. Cameroon play on the 24th and the Ivory Coast play on the 24th. And I nearly said it's Morocco, isn't it? Mazraoui plays on the 21st. But it's really going to be Ivory Coast and Cameroon because of Ahmad and Mbeumo on the 24th. That's their first game. We play Bournemouth on the 15th and Villa on the 21st. And what we're trying to do is get Mbeumo and Ahmad to play on the 21st and then go and link up. And if we do that, that's Villa away, which is a difficult game. But I don't think they'll be linking up before the Bournemouth game. I think that would be very, very strange. Look, we'll have to wait and see. And then match day 3. I don't know how good Cameroon... I mean, God, they do play games very, very quickly. So Cameroon play the 24th, the 28th, and then Christmas Eve. They play 3 games in a week. So I don't know how good Cameroon are. I don't know how good the Ivory Coast are. But, I mean, if they got knocked out in the group stage, they'll be back very, very quickly. If they get to the quarterfinals, they won't be back until like the 10th of Jan. Which means could be back for the Man City game. Yeah. I don't know. I'm playing devil's advocate here, trying to figure it out. Somebody just said Cameroon are good. I don't know. They were okay with Onana not training, says Shahin. Well, Onana bloody didn't he miss the first game? I think Onana did. Hi Mark. In fairness, I think we'll push to start. I've done that one from Manchester Reds. Thank you very much. Garnacho done that. Milan done that. Brandon. Ben says Crystal Palace have got a Thursday night game in Strasbourg before we play them, so it's a big advantage. And that game's at midday on the Sunday as well, Ben. So we do have a massive advantage for that as well. But this is what I mean, opportunity. If yesterday was a missed opportunity, and it was, and Forest was a missed opportunity, and it was, you can't not take that opportunity because Crystal Palace away is a difficult game. But if they're playing on a Thursday night in France and then they're playing us at midday on Sunday, we saw how that can hurt you last season. We have to take advantage of that and be revved up and ready to go. But it's a low block, so we've got to be ready for it. Emily Derry says we've got to take these opportunities. We've had 2 bites of the cherry so far, and it's rare that you get a third in the Premier League. And Wayne Finnegan says, out of our last 5 games, excluding Sunderland, we lost 4 last year. You can see the progress. We just need to stamp out the mistakes and invest in January, says Wayne. Thank you very much, mate, Wayne. I would be comfortable to say if we don't do anything in January, we're seriously jeopardising Champions League football. Why does every manager we hire... why is it... Sorry, Malik says, why is it every manager we hire doesn't put out the obvious lineup? I never get it. Is it ego, or is it just as fans overthinking the lineup? I mean... I look at the side he picked yesterday and I didn't really have massive problems with it. Dorgu came in. Actually, let me rephrase that. I did have problems with it, didn't I? I'd be a massive hypocrite now. Oh, he's okay with it. He's being positive now. No, I did have massive problems with the team. I just try not to on the watch along until after the game because I don't think it serves much purpose going mad about it before a kickoff. I had a massive problem with the team yesterday. I did, because he moved too much about. You know, Ahmad went from right wing back to 10. And Burma went from right 10 to left 10. Kenya went up front. Delit went from centre back to right centre back. There was too many moving around players that weren't dropped. But I think I'd like to think his best 11 is obviously Lemens in goal, Dorgu left wing back, Ahmad right wing back, and then De Ligt centre back, Yoro, Luke Shaw, Maguire as a backup. Midfield, obviously, I've got a huge issue with, but in honesty, it's probably Bruno and Casemiro. And then the front three, I would want it to be Mbeumo, Cunha, and Sesko. And I actually think that might well be Amorim's best 11. So he just changes things a lot. Ranieri was the worst Premier League manager I've ever seen for changing things week to week. It's like his substitution of a centre-back in the last 15 minutes. I don't understand it. I know we've got 3 centre-backs and most people play with 2, so there's more chance of a substitute being a centre-back. But, yeah, I think somebody made a great point this morning, and I can't remember whether it was on the radio. It wouldn't have been on the radio. They basically said substitutions are a big problem for United. Against Brighton, we nearly fucked it up. From 3-0 up, we nearly messed up. It got to 3-2, and then thankfully we got a goal. That was because of substitutes. Against Forest last week, he didn't make any substitutes, and we nearly messed it up. And then yesterday, he made the substitutes, and we messed it up. So he has got problems with his substitutes because he needs to make them, but they don't necessarily work. That's a squad issue. That's why you need to use transfers. But I also think as well, I know we're living in a Premier League era where it's very intense, but if you watch Man City Liverpool today, it was a really good game, and it was a 90-minute game. Like there was things going on for 90 minutes. You can give me 10 players across both teams that played 90 minutes, and then you can take those 10 players and tell me how many minutes they played in midweek against Dortmund and Real Madrid respectively. So there are loads and loads and loads of players in that game for Liverpool and Man City, a massively intense big game, who played 90 minutes and also played midweek. So I don't understand why, with a whole week off, we're needing to sub players anyway. Like, if you look at that Brighton game, where we're 3-0 up and then we make a load of changes and lose momentum, why did we make the changes? If it's going to cost us, why are we making changes? Surely, with one game a week, these people can play 90 minutes. I mean, Szoboszlai played 90 minutes today for Liverpool, and he played in midweek. So, yeah, he's in a bit of a problem at the moment, Amorim, because I think against Forest, he didn't make the subs, and you could see that the players were getting tired. But then when he does make the subs, there's sometimes a drop-off. So the question's got to be, why our players are so tired that we need to make subs? Because really, I'd be going, that's my starting 11. And unless I get an injury or you're having a bad game, I'm not making any bloody subs anyway. You're only playing one game a week. 90 minutes. 90 minutes. 90 minutes. And I don't know why we can't do that. Højlund looks much better when he gets intelligent service from De Bruyne. Bruno must start giving through balls, not always chips and over the top, says Marlowe. Do you recall your Shaw healthy till Christmas bet, says Jide? And that was last year. I mean, I'm happy to do it this year. I'm happy. I think it was £1,000 to a charity voted for by you lot. I will give £1,000 to charity comfortably if Luke Shaw stays fit till Christmas Eve. And actually, when I said it last year, I was totally confident it wouldn't happen. But actually, by some miracle, I actually think it could happen this year. Maybe I should do it the other way. If Luke Shaw doesn't stay fit till Christmas Eve, well, it's up to you. Which way do you want to do it? £1,000 to charity if Luke Shaw stays fit till Christmas Eve, or £1,000 to charity if he doesn't stay fit till Christmas Eve. Injury update on Sesko, says BL. I think we're waiting on it. As said this morning, Sam C reports was saying that it sounds positive, and I think he's going to message me when he gets anything further. But yeah, I could donate it down the slide then, says Cameron. Yeah. Team needs Bruno to miss 4 games to see what's up, says Bodie. Would you do that? How do I run this as a poll? Would you take Bruno out for 4 games if you could? So basically, you have the ability to press a button and Bruno can't play for the next 4 games. Would you do it? I wouldn't. Oh, no. God, forget it. No, I wouldn't do it. No. No. For me, it's a massive no. Would I sell Bruno to Saudi and use the money to replace him? Yes. Would I take him out for the next 4 games? No. Don't like him in the midfield, but God knows what would happen if we tried to change it. It could get worse. It could get worse. So I wouldn't do it because, yeah, I know. I'm just going to steal it again. He's our best player and he's our worst player at times. He can't play in the midfield, but I wouldn't get rid of him. I personally, especially, I've got to be honest, I would just like to see him playing at 10. You know, people talk about pace and Amorim wants pace in the number 10 position, and I do get that, but it's not like we're seeing that pace utilised that much anyway. Interesting question, Bodie. You've got a poll going out of that. It's understandable to only look at goals, but Sesko's done very well winning one-on-one and holding the ball up as much as flicking long balls for others, says Shahin. I think the Sesko analysis is a little bit poor. You know, you take the game yesterday, it wasn't very good. You take the game against Forest, it wasn't particularly good. But I did highlight that he was going to struggle, and many of you did as well. In both previews, I said, ahead of the Forest game, I said, Murillo and Milinkovic are both very good in the air and they're both very physical. So he's going to have a challenge there, especially if he doesn't get much service. And that happened. And then I said, I don't think... Remember on the preview like on Thursday night, I said there's a big rumour from credible people, of which I'm in a group with, saying that Sesko's getting dropped on Saturday. And I said, I hope it's not going to happen. I don't know whether it is going to happen, but that was the rumour on Thursday night. And lo and behold, he was dropped. And I remember saying on the preview, you can almost see why Amorim might do it, because Murillo and Milinkovic caused him problems and nullified him. And Van der Ven and Romero are arguably better, but quite similar in relation to their physicality. So, as much as Sesko's big, that doesn't mean he can deal with 2 physical centre-backs, especially when he's not got anybody around him. We've always said that, but 3 managers later, nobody does, says the Inquisition. Thank you very much to Marlowe as well. Sorry, I've just got to read this one. Evan Whelan says, I know you were semi-annoyed with my comment yesterday, but I was just making the point last year we definitely would have dropped heads and not scored, says Evan. I was semi-annoyed with everybody yesterday because I just don't see that we can sit back. I don't really care about it now. You know, time's a great healer. I look at that league table we were looking at. I look at the next few fixtures and I say, look, despite the missed opportunities, it's still in our hands massively to have a good season. And I want that to happen. But my issue with yesterday is the people telling me it's all right, it's a good result, we played well, it's progress. I don't have those standards, I'm sorry. I was brought up on Roy Keane interviews after a game, Sir Alex Ferguson after a game, and if you're from that era, you don't sit there and go, I'm really pleased with a last-minute lucky equaliser against Spurs for the 2nd week in a row, when we're 7th, 8th in the league and we could be 3rd or 4th, really motoring. But I look at it tonight and go, okay, there's no point carrying on with that. I still look at the league table and go, we can get there. It's not like we've lost the opportunity. I think it was a missed opportunity and I thought we were rubbish, but there's no point moaning about spilt milk. I've said what I've said. Some people agree, some people don't agree, but we've still got a really good opportunity. And it was never about, I mean, look, let's be clear, it was definitely about please stop picking him, sell him. You know, I can list those off, definitely. There was that element of it, but it was not about sack the manager or anything like that. It's about, like, how do we stop this from happening? Because I don't think for 1 minute Ruben Amorim is sat there at half-time at Forest or Spurs going, please turn the light switch off. I think he's probably as confused as we are. He should bring on the experienced players as subs and start the players for the future. That way we can close out games, says Malik. You missed my comment, says Linford. I'm working back, it'll be all right. Substitutes is an issue because there is no game plan, says Keel. I'm neither sure of Delo nor Dorgu. Who do you think is the solution in that position, says Heretic. 100% Dorgu. I mean, I think if I could say one thing about Dorgu, and I've said it from the start, he is an incredible talent. I was stunned when United went for him in January. This is a player I know from doing Football Manager, FC 26, etc. He is always in the list for like young players coming through outside of computer games as well. He's a fantastic prospect, and Man United bought him. But he is a prospect. You know, if you think of a player that's like a 68 rated player on FC 26 who can turn into an 86 rated player, that's what Dorgu is. He's nowhere near what he can be, but he can go on that journey. So to write him off and criticise him, I find weird. But I think some people have already done that. So when I look at the game yesterday, I thought he played well. I've got other people saying, yeah, he played really, really well. I was really impressed with him. But then there's other people going, he was absolutely horseshit. You've got a problem when that happens. Because when universally everyone says Bruno was shit, well, we all know that. But when you've got people going, I thought he played really well, and you've got other people going, he played really shit, what you've got there, unfortunately, is agenda, one way or the other. Because you can't have that extremity. You can't have people saying, I thought he played really well, and other people going, no, he was shit. Because that doesn't make sense. My fear is that the people who are saying he's shit have already made their mind up. They've got a problem with him, and we saw it last season. But in the conversation about Dorgu or Dalot, Dorgu every day of the week. Dalot is 27, and he's not going to realise any potential that he had. He's just going to be what he is. Dorgu can get better and better and better. So Dorgu, you go with Dorgu. Also, Dorgu is left-footed and gives us better balance. He's got a better cross on him. He's quicker. So it's Dorgu every day of the week. Dalot at left wing-back gives me nightmares. We have to take it game by game, says John, but from all the matches so far, our weak spots are in the middle and on the wing-backs. Those areas need improvement or changes, says John. Mate, we said it yesterday. I think the attack is capable of scoring a lot of goals. The goalkeeper is capable of saving us a lot of goals. The defence is decent. The midfield doesn't service the attack and doesn't protect the defence. We're conceding nearly 2 goals a game. We're scoring nearly 2 goals a game. The attack is cancelling out the defence, but it's the midfield that's causing that problem. If the midfield was better, we'd attack better and get more goals, and we'd defend better and concede. It's like that. The balance with United at the moment is this. We're scoring goals, but we're conceding goals. How do we tip the scales? Midfield. We'll score more, we'll concede less. The midfield is the problem. It was the problem you all identified in the summer. We spoke about it in depth. Games are won and lost in the midfield, and the midfield is Man United's problem. But it's not new. The midfield was the problem for Ten Hag. The reason we finished 8th and he nearly got the sack, but saved it with the FA Cup, is because the midfield was wide open. Our midfield has been shit for 2 years. It's not just last year. It's not just this year. It's the year before. Our midfield has been rubbish for about 2.5 years. And in that 2.5 years, we've pretty much had the same midfield. It's been Casemiro, Bruno, Mainu, and Agate for the last year. But over the last 2.5 years, it's basically been that. Our midfield is the problem. If we solve the midfield, we will be better. And if we can solve it in January, we will be better in the second half of the season. He's got to solve the midfield. And that's why I think some of you say things like, I would like to see us try Mazraoui in there. I would like to see us put Martinez in there. He's got to solidify that midfield. And if he does that, we'll become a better side. And people say it's the system. He ain't going to change the system. I'll share something with you as a sort of after show thing here in a minute. But let me get through your comments. I'm going to say something that I wasn't going to say because I wouldn't have remembered, but I am going to say it. They were okay with Onana not training, says Shahin. In fairness, I think we will push to sign in January. I've done that with Manchester Reds, Garnacho, Milan, Brandon, Ben. It's no Linford. I read that about Van Persie. Goals win games. We did win that. Maybe I hadn't read it by the time we've done that. Do you think Ruben's getting enough out of this team, says Siraj? Yes, at the moment, I do. I do. I think that he can't be held accountable for a team that's 1-0 up at half time and then bottles it in the second half, because we've seen that before. We've seen it for years. That he can't be held accountable for that. That's a mentality issue. And I'm sure he's as frustrated as we are. But as the manager, I don't think we played particularly well in the first half yesterday because he made too many changes. So he has to take some of the criticism. But I think there's not a lot more he can get out of that team at the moment. He's just got to eliminate some of the things he's doing and hope that that's going to be enough, because I think these players are still going to be inconsistent, and I don't think he can do a hell of a lot about that without time and investment. Which is why any talk of replacing him is stupid. You can be critical of mistakes by the manager. It doesn't mean that you want him to change, because I don't think that I don't see that being the problem. We are in a better position, but we're showing the same signs that could take us back to 15th. That's the frustration, says Ravi. And do you think Ruben's done that one? Good points. Emily Derry with the super chat says, I think it's progress in the eye of the beholder. On a very basic level, it's progress because we didn't lose. But in a more nuanced view, there are still glaring holes that haven't been addressed. And I think that is perfection, because I think this is where, and we're not going back there anyway, but last night, this morning, there was a little bit that's going on where some people get very set in their ways. Well, it's clearly progress, but it's nuanced. It is progress. But you could define the progress, as M. Parker said, as the goalkeeper. Okay, I don't see any progress other than with Onana in goal now, we'd be 15th, and with Lemens last season, we'd be 8th. But that's not progress. It's not good enough. It's just we've got a goalkeeper that's competent. Or you could take it bigger than that or smaller than that. But as Emily said, I think the big problem many of us have is the frequency and familiarity of the issues that haven't been addressed. And the midfield is a disgrace, by the way. And I do not blame Amorim for that, because I know he wanted a midfielder. I think the club not buying a midfielder should always be in our head that the club didn't buy a midfielder. United won't be top 4 contender until we replace Bruno, says Kia. Thank you very much. Okay, what I was going to say is a little bit of an after show comment, a little bit of bonus material, and maybe we'll pick it up on one of the 8 o'clock shows this week. But I sometimes like to drop something in as a bit of homework to think about. I don't like the 3-4-3. No, I don't. I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was in a real mood yesterday. I watched the game with you good people, did the match reaction, went and had a glass of wine, got home, and I think I was having a bath. And I just sat there and went, I don't like the 3-4-3. I don't like the 3-4-3. I don't. But it doesn't have to be any deeper than I don't like the 3-4-3. I just don't like 3-4-3. I don't like it. I don't. I'm a 4-4-3, a 4-3-3 guy. I like a back four. I like 2 full-backs. I like 2 centre-backs. I like a midfield 3. I like 2 wingers. I don't like the 3-4-3. And I don't know whether I've ever said it. I've certainly hinted at it, but I don't like it. And I just thought last night, you really should say that on a stream, because I don't like it. I don't like it. But I'm only saying that because I think there's been a lot of chat about the system and the formation since Amorim came in. And I've been very adamant that it's a waste of time, because that's what he plays. And he should never change. And the club chose that, and it's his system. And it's not his fault, and the club chose it. And I would never want, I don't, if somebody said to me tomorrow, you can have a 4-3-3 manager, will you sack Amorim? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if ideally, I would love us to play 4-3-3. That's what I would love. It's what I grew up with. It's Man United. But we didn't. We've gone down this route. And I didn't want the Champions League format to change, but I really like it now. So nothing ever stays the same. We have a manager that has a very distinctive system, and I admire the fact that he will not change that, and he shouldn't change that, and that's what we have. That's it. But I don't think... The reason I wanted to say it is because, in a way, it gives more credibility to what I've been arguing about over the last 12 months. I get so fed up of listening to ex-players or fans or whatever saying he should change the system. And he should absolutely not change his system, because that's his system. And that's what we brought him here to do. And I'll keep arguing that forever. He should never change what he's all about. That's what he's all about. That's why we brought him here. But fundamentally, I don't like 3-4-3. I don't like 5-3-2. England played it in the Euro 96. I didn't like it. We nearly bloody won the tournament. So it's not a big thing. I just don't really get on with it that much. I find it weird seeing three centre-backs. I just don't like it. I never have. But, you know, this could be the start of something beautiful. This could be, in 20 years, people go, what's 4-3-3? It doesn't mean I don't want the manager to do well. I do. It doesn't mean I don't like Ruben Amorim. I really do. There's only two managers I've really felt in tune with since Sir Alex went, and that's Rangnick and Amorim. And I liked Jose and I liked Ollie, but I like this manager. I like the way he speaks. But I agree with Keel. I want wingers. I like wingers, not wing backs. That's probably it for me. I don't mind two midfielders. I don't mind two number 10s and a striker. Three centre-backs is a little bit weird, but I want wingers. I want full-backs and wingers. That's what I like. That's what I like about a back four. I like full-backs and wingers. Exactly. Thank you, says Shahin. But there's nothing wrong with that. Saying you don't like 3-4-3 doesn't mean you don't like Amorim. It doesn't mean you Amorim out. It doesn't mean you don't want Man United to win. Change is good. If we win the league with a 3-4-3 and it's entertaining, who gives a fuck? So the reason I said it is, one, because I've defended Amorim and I think it's ridiculous that people say he needs to change his formation. But also the reason I said it is because it really does evidence that we're at the start of something. We're not equipped to play his system. We haven't got the right players. You know, Bruno's playing in the midfield. You know, who are the wing backs really? You know, Casemiro's not going to be here next year. We've only got one striker. We brought him in to do a job and he plays that way. We've got to give him those players. And if we give him those players and it works, no one's going to give a shit about the 4-3-3. But we've got to give him the players. And let me just make it even more clear. If Amorim walked tomorrow and Mr. 4-3-3 walked in, we'd still be shit. Because we haven't got the players for 4-3-3 either. So we've got to see this project through. We've started it. We've got to see it through. I mean, imagine how ridiculous it would be to go back to a 4-3-3 when Rashford's gone, Garnacho's gone, Anthony's gone. We haven't even got any bloody wingers anymore, and we certainly haven't got enough fullbacks. United won't be a top four. Done that one. Sesko might start getting the menu treatment, says MSMW. And Thomas says, I don't like Ahmad playing as a right wing back. Feels like we're wasting his potential as a winger, which is his best position. Even Mbermo is better starting, says Thomas. And the biggest problem is we play too fluid and every player is doing two jobs. Centre-backs are also CDMs. CDMs are also cams. Cams are also wingers. And wing-backs are both wingers and full-backs, says Shane. Did you see yesterday Dorgu at number 10 for quite a long period in the first half? You just reminded me. Did you see that yesterday? Dorgu, a lot, was playing as a number 10. A lot. I mean, I think that's that's almost like, what are we doing in training in the week that we're actually going that technical that we're telling Dorgu to go in as a 10? In one way, it's exciting that we're trying those sort of things, but in the other way, let's do the basics first. Thank you everybody for watching. 60% of you would take Bruno out for 4 games if you could. I don't know about that. Yeah. Thanks everybody for watching. Absolute legends as always. News show tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Let's see if this big story breaks in the next couple of days as well. 5 years from now, where do you see Man United as Malik? I would love to give you that answer, mate. But I don't know where we'll be in 5 games. It's so unpredictable at the moment. I'd like to say winning league titles, but I just don't know. Don't forget to check out Boohoo Man. Links in the video description. Scan the QR code. Have a great day, evening, morning, whatever you're doing. And I'll see you on the news show tomorrow morning, live at 10. And I'm in the studio tomorrow. Yay! Take care.